Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're tackling something huge, reclaiming one of your most valuable assets, which is of course your time. If you've been using AI, you know it's great, but you might find yourself kind of babysitting it, right? Typing out the same repetitive prompts, constantly re-explaining your formats, manually moving files around. Well, you're going to absolutely love what we're exploring today. We are going to discover how to really master automated workflows using Google's Gemini Spark. We're talking about turning it from a simple chatbot into a truly proactive agent that does the heavy lifting for you.
All right, let's dive into this. Think about the stark contrast between the AI you're probably using right now and the proactive agent you're about to learn how to use. Standard Gemini chat is incredibly useful, but at the end of the day, it's fundamentally reactive. It sits there and waits for your prompt. It can summarize a file, sure, but it stops there. But then you look at the proactive capabilities of Gemini Spark. This thing acts autonomously. It can literally detect when a new file drops into a folder, rename it based on what's inside, move it, and even build reports for you on a schedule. It is the difference between an AI that just answers your questions and an AI that actually goes out and does the work for you.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Reactive versus proactive AI. 2. Essential Gemini Spark setup. 3. Standardizing work with skills. 4. Automating with scheduled triggers. And 5. Taking control of your AI.
Section 1. Reactive versus proactive AI. Shifting the paradigm.
It turns out Spark acts like a behind-the-scenes virtual assistant. Imagine taking the search bars from Google Drive, your calendar, Gmail, and Google Search, and just smashing them together into one giant omnibox. That is Spark. For example, you can literally just tell it to look at an email thread with Austin and schedule a follow-up. That's it. It searches your Gmail to find the right Austin, checks the context of your whole thread, peeks at your calendar to reuse the same time slot from your last meeting, and drafts the calendar invite. You don't even open a single app. And a quick pro tip here, using a voice-to-text tool like Whisperflow works beautifully with this. You naturally give the AI so much richer context when you're just speaking rather than typing. And since context is basically everything for AI, your autonomous results are going to be vastly improved.
Section 2. Essential Gemini setup, laying the groundwork.
Okay, before we start automating, we need to lay down a little groundwork. First up, you need to dive into your Gemini settings, find personal intelligence, and turn on memory. This is crucial. It lets Spark learn how you actually work. Second, in your connected apps, toggle on Google Workspace and search services. Just a quick note, if you're on an enterprise account, you might only see the Connected Apps tab. So just make sure Workspace is enabled there so it can actually reach your Gmail, calendar, and Drive. And finally, go create a brand new root folder in your Google Drive and name it Spark OS. Think of this as the home base for all your new automations.
Moving on to Section 3. Standardizing work with skills. Building repeating playbooks.
Now this is where we start automating those routine tasks. The absolute starting point here is understanding what a skill actually is. Simply put, it's a fixed set of instructions that turns the same kind of input into the same kind of output, only the content changes. This is huge because it saves us from re-explaining our exact formatting preferences every single time we need a routine report generated. You build this playbook once, and the AI just runs it perfectly every single time. I absolutely love this analogy from the source material. They say, think of a waffle iron. Your input is the batter, the skill is the iron, and the output is the waffle. I mean, it makes a pretty abstract technical concept instantly relatable. Whether you pour in regular batter or chocolate batter, that's your input. The skill is the iron that shapes it, and you get a perfectly formed output every single time.
So let's see how this simple formula works in practice. Picture this. You get these messy, raw text updates from your sales team every week. That's your intake document. But you also have an empty Google Doc formatted exactly how you like your leadership briefs. That's your template doc. By pointing Spark at these two specific files, it pulls the raw data, distills it down, and outputs a perfectly clean leadership brief. No more manual copying, pasting, or fiddling with formatting. Okay, so how do we actually build this into a saved skill? It's really straightforward. First, inside that Spark OS folder we made earlier, create a subfolder called 99_temp, just for the AI to save its outputs. Then natively, right there in the chat interface, you just ask Spark to create a skill. You literally just tell it. Create a weekly report skill that rewrites the intake doc to match my template and saves it to the temp folder. Spark will restate the goal to you and show you the steps so you can approve them. Once you save it, it's a permanent skill. You can even download it as a markdown file, a .md file, to share with your teammates, meaning they can upload it and use your exact workflow in seconds.
Section 4. Automating with scheduled triggers. Hands-free execution.
Now we're reaching the holy grail of automating routine tasks, scheduled triggers. There's a vital distinction here in how we can trigger those skills we just built. We have time-based triggers, where you just tell Spark, run the weekly report skill every Monday at 9:30 a.m. Done. But then we have event-based triggers, which are honestly even more powerful. These run when something specific actually happens. And here is the absolute best part. Because Gemini Spark runs entirely on the cloud, these scheduled triggers execute perfectly even if your laptop is completely closed and turned off. It's true, hands-free background automation.
Let's walk through a brilliant real-world example of an event-based trigger. If you use Gemini for meeting notes, you know you get an auto-generated transcript emailed to you. Well, you can tell Spark to silently watch your inbox for an email from Gemini Notes at google.com. The very second it arrives, Spark triggers. It reads the entire transcript, extracts the decisions and action items in a bottom-line upfront format, and automatically drafts a recap email to all attendees for your review. Total post-meeting administration, completely automated. How cool is that?
A quick warning here, just to save you some serious frustration. Currently, there is a bit of a UI limitation. If you try to use the manual schedule builder over in the sidebar, it only does time-based schedules. So if you want to create an event trigger, like watching for a specific email, you have to create it by talking directly to Gemini in the chat interface. You just tell it what to watch for, and it will build the trigger for you behind the scenes.
Section 5. Taking control of your AI, moving past the black box. So while Spark is super beginner-friendly, mostly because it lives right inside your Google apps, its memory is honestly a bit of a black box right now. If you ask what it knows about you, it gives you a pretty vague answer. You can contrast this with an intermediate tool like Claude Cowork, which uses a completely transparent memory file where you have explicit control over exactly what the AI knows about your role and preferences. But don't worry, there is a workaround for Spark.
Here is an incredibly clever workaround for power users to force consistency without relying on that black box memory. Step 1. Create a simple document called Spark.md right inside your SparkOS folder. Step 2. Type in your specific rules. For example, you could write, communication rule, always lead with the bottom line up front. Step 3. When you prompt Spark, just explicitly tell it, read Spark.md before responding. By pointing the AI at a hard rule file that you control, you force it to follow your exact preferences every single time. It's a game changer. So that brings us to a question for you to ponder. We've gone from just reactive chatting to building reliable skills to setting up cloud-based scheduled triggers and finally explicitly controlling the AI's output. So, what mundane, repetitive task are you going to hand over to your proactive AI agent tomorrow morning? It is officially time to stop answering questions for your AI and start making the AI do the work for you. Thanks for joining this explainer, and we'll see you on the next one.